Welcome back to another Saxton podcast. It's been a little while. We've dug ourselves a hole, but I'm happy to be back talking to you, Deuce. How you doing?
Yeah, really good time of year. NFL's starting to really heat up, but we're licking our wounds here. We need to break out some, I think, these next couple of weeks.
College has been good to us, but the NFL has been a struggle, to say the least.
Yeah, we are, due to our bread and butter, we're getting smacked around a little bit this year.
Last year at this time is when we got on a run. I have a feeling it's coming.
It usually does, especially this time of year when the weather changes. We usually strap on our cold gear and turn it on. The lines do seem pretty sharp this year. Maybe that's what's hurting us, but we'll see.
Before we get into a mega podcast today in football, one thing that I wanted to bring up the last time we talked but forgot to do it. So we're going back 2 weeks now. I don't want to get in too much into politics, but how crazy was it? Hillary Clinton reached minus 750, and then towards the end of the night, Trump reached minus 1200, the swing that occurred.
Yeah, luckily we had Tundra giving us live lines from his offshore betting account. I'm not sure I've ever seen a swing like that. For me, it says, the exit polls are one of the biggest shams in the world going. And I think people just had it dead wrong. People were scared to say who they were voting for, and that kind of hid the real results that were going on. But I've never seen a favorite swing like that so quickly. It was almost like someone got inside information that a fighter was going to take the ball. That's the only thing I can think of that would come close to that.
I don't know about you, but it was one of my favorite nights from 2016 to watch TV, from flipping channel to channel and following along on Twitter.
Yeah, you always have those moments like you'll remember where you are type of deal for years to come. I will never forget the board operator, I can't remember his name, for CNN. He looked at it, some kind of precinct from Pennsylvania and Wisconsin came in, and you can see his face like, holy shit, this is going to happen.
Yeah, the reactions to from people on TV were unbelievable, and not to get on the Hillary supporters, but the live look-ins to their crowd was just unbelievable shock.
Yeah, you could tell that was not even a chance of happening. Usually when you look in both rooms, they have the cameras, it's kind of tempered excitement, hoping, because it's usually 50-50, but I think they were ready to party from right on the onset, and they had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, absolute gut-wrenching.
It looked like they all got sweet chin music all at the same time.
That's a great call. I wish somebody would create a GIF of that.
I'm sure it's out there. I don't think someone's going to make it. Now they're listening to this.
While we're on this, I have an idea that I would like to pitch. We only have 2 days to make it happen. But what if with Thanksgiving coming up, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of election talk around the table. Everybody's got some crazy relative that is going to get on somebody's nerve and poke the bull. If we could get live look-ins to people's Thanksgiving dinner tables.
I think it's a great idea, and if you want, I can be the guinea pig, because Pop Evans is the bull, and there's going to be a lot of bear pokers around, so I can make that happen fairly easily for you.
I think that would be great TV.
It would be a disaster in this house.
Well, let's move along to college. As we wind down with a couple weeks left, playoff rankings come out tonight. You give me your top 6, what you would rank them.
The 6 is hard for me. I think the top 4 are fairly easy right now. Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson. They all took care of business. I know Ohio State had a close game, but Michigan had a close game. But, you win this time of year. You should stay where you are. After that, I think there's probably three teams vying for those two spots, 5 and 6, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, and Penn State. The Big Ten, to me, is so intriguing. What's going to happen with Ohio State if they win and Penn State ends up winning the Big Ten? I just can't imagine leaving Penn State out if they are the Big Ten champs, but I think it's a possibility.
I think that's going to be the most intriguing. What happens if Ohio State wins, Penn State wins the Big Ten? Who do you take? Penn State has a head-to-head, and they'll have two top wins over top 10 teams.
For me, Ohio State is the better football team.
No doubt.
But that should not really matter. Penn State beat them head-to-head and won a conference. I think that is the trump card.
Yeah, that I'm kind of hoping it plays out that way to see what the committee does.
You gotta have some sort of rules in place. You can't just go off of what you feel is the better team. Like I heard the head of the committee, they were discussing Oklahoma and why they're moving up so fast and so high. And I get it, right? They're a national power, but he said we like their offense. What the hell does that mean? I have no idea what that even means. You like their offense? Well, that's not really a tool to use in rankings. So, I think Oklahoma is going to find its way into the discussion when all is said and done.
Yeah, next week they get Oklahoma State in a de facto Big 12 championship. And nice scheduling by the Big 12 for that. It works out that they'll be playing on Championship Saturday.
Yeah, it's smart. And, I think their team's okay, but we've seen this movie before. Their wins are going to be overinflated for some reason. Someone's going to get screwed in favor of Oklahoma, I think.
If Washington wins this weekend at Wazoo and then gets a win either over Colorado or USC in the Pac-12 title, would that be enough?
They're going to be in the discussion as well. I think they're kind of hoping Penn State loses here so that they get taken out of the equation. But yeah, I was very impressed with Wazoo last week, even though they lost to Colorado. But I think a win over Colorado would be pretty significant for Washington. They got to win both those games. Those are going to be tough games. I think they dropped one of them. The USC thing, I think it's more name. Maybe it's just me. I don't think USC is that good. I know they've had a little bit of a resurgence, but to me, that's not that great of a win.
Wisconsin, can they get in with
Sorry to Sidlowski because I know he's going to listen, but USC is just not very good.
Wisconsin, are they on the outside looking in no matter what?
They have to be, right?
The struggles of LSU has hurt that big win early on, I think.
Yeah, and
they have losses to both Michigan, Ohio State.
The Penn State-Ohio State scenario has to play out first for me to eliminate them totally. If Penn State were to lose somewhere and Michigan beats Ohio State, could Wisconsin sneak in, maybe?
No matter what, is Alabama in?
I think I saw. What if they lost to Auburn and then lost in the SEC championship?
That was going to be my next question.
Are they still in? I think there's still a scenario where they're not. I think if they lose to Auburn and they lose to whoever it is, was it Florida, I guess?
Florida, yes.
I mean, neither team to me is that good, so I think if they lose to those two teams, maybe they would not be in.
Is this real world that we're actually talking a scenario where the SEC doesn't have a representative?
Yeah, in my opinion, there's a faction that wants to see that happen.
Oh,
I know there's
definitely.
a lot out there that think the SEC is overrated, and in some aspects it is, but, if everyone played an SEC schedule, I think you'd see a lot more SEC love out there because no one else really plays that type of schedule except for the Big Ten. Oklahoma would be an 8-win team in the SEC.
So as it stands right now, 120 on Tuesday, who would be your 5th and 6th team? Gun to your head.
I think it would be Penn State. And, man, I don't know. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of think Wisconsin's a better team than Oklahoma.
Interesting.
I just don't know. Oklahoma's wins to me are kind of bleh. And they got absolutely smoked in the one big non-conference game they had at home.
At home, yeah.
To me, that says something. Like, that game wasn't even competitive.
The good news for us is next week sets up for a typical Bob Stoops letdown.
Yeah.
14 days to think about it.
Is there part of you that wants them to sneak into the playoffs?
Just for betting purposes, because I will lay wood. Because I think they'll probably play Bama in round 1.
Is there a small percentage of you that might get tricked into betting
No.
if they do make the playoffs?
Absolutely not.
Just making sure.
While we're on the topic of coaches, it seems that Charlie Strong is going to be shown the door. Did he get a fair shot?
I have backed Chuck Strong for a while now. I think he's brought in some really good players. Now, they're very young, don't get me wrong. It's hard to win with that many freshmen. But Big 12 isn't great. He has not won 8 games in a season, which I don't think should be that difficult. And look, bottom line, he lost to Kansas. That's like losing to the Mountain Intramural team. So I think that was basically just nailing his own coffin. I think he got a shot. I think he's got a ton of talent. So whoever does take over that team is going to be in a great spot to succeed. But, sometimes it just is what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I like Charlie Strong. I think he's going to land on his feet somewhere, and I think he could be a good coach at a smaller program. Which leads us to Tom Herman. Does he take the job?
I think it is more 50-50 than other people think. You have put out a great scenario where he stays, besides Texas, maybe Texas A&M. He could probably get some good recruits to Houston. I know he already pulled a couple this past year. I think he'll be able to recruit in some of the South too. Their conference, the way the system is set up. Why would you want to leave somewhere where if you have one loss, you're going to be in the mix almost every year? The allure of Texas is big. We both think it's probably the top job in the country. So it's one of those things. If you don't leave now for Texas, is Houston your ultimate destination for the rest of your career?
Yeah, that's what I've thought of as I've thought about it more. I know we've exchanged texts about it, but that's the point right there. If you turn down Texas, what is your dream job or where are you going?
Yeah, the gut says he takes it because of that. Just because in 5 years, where are you going to go? I don't think there's a better opportunity than that. And you can always probably fall on your feet at a job like Houston if it doesn't work out at Texas.
The more interesting one to me is LSU. There's been a bunch of people thrown around. Jimbo Fisher's in the discussion. I've seen Lane Kiffin's name. What other names are you seeing, hearing, and who would be your top 2 or 3?
It's weird. I think it's a really good job, right? You can recruit the heck out of your own state where there's tons of talent. You can pick off your neighboring states, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Texas. It's a hard job, though, with being in the SEC. You're kind of playing little brother to Nick Saban as long as he's around. I can't see Herman going there. Doesn't seem like a fit to me. I don't know why Jimbo would leave what's basically the same job in a much easier conference. I know Louisville and Suns are good, but not the same. I don't really know where they're going to start. I think Eddie O probably showed himself out the door last week losing to Florida. especially some of the play calls at the end of the game. I'm going to bring up the same name I always have. I think Brett Bielema would be a great fit there. But he doesn't seem to be getting any love. I don't really know where they turn. I think it's a bizarre situation that's going to unfold.
Would you have interest in Lane Kiffin?
I would not. I think he's proven that head coaching is a little bit too much for him to handle. I think he's a good coordinator. I know his name has popped up too, but I don't know. Something about him having all the responsibility scares me, and I think he has a proven track record where it should scare other people too.
Would you call Bobby Petrino?
Oh, that's an interesting name. I haven't thought of that one. I think I would, actually. I know he's had similar problems, but yeah, I mean, Louisville is kind of a one-man band, but he's turned it around again there. That's an interesting name. I think I would call him, actually.
And I have one wild card that I just thought of. Would you make a phone call to Sean Payton?
Yes, I would.
Do you think he would ever leave the NFL to go to college?
Yeah, that would be the concern. I think he's an NFL guy, even if he's not with the Saints. I think he's an NFL guy. Talking about someone though that could change the face of a program, especially with their struggles on offensive quarterbacks. Can't imagine he wouldn't be a huge asset on the recruiting trail if he showed up at a kid's doorstep.
Then the last name I've heard a couple times is Fedora from North Carolina. Does that interest you at all?
If you're going to bring that name up, why not the Western Michigan head coach? Hell, why not even Fuente from Virginia Tech? He's done a great job this year. I think the Fedora name is weird to me. There's probably 20 of those across the country.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's get into the games for the weekend. Rivalry weekend. A couple games on Thursday. Start in Texas A&M. They're 5-point underdogs to LSU. In a game that doesn't mean as much as it once may have.
Yeah, the games that never mean anything are always tough to predict. But I think I would lean to LSU here just because I think A&M has proved in the past that once they start to crumble, they really crumble.
Yeah, I think I also lean LSU. I think the players are going to play hard. I do think they do like Orgeron, and maybe he thinks this could save his job.
I agree. That's a good point.
Western Michigan, 9-point favorites, hosting Toledo. Chance to run the table and go undefeated.
Toledo is a good football team. The line to me says Western Michigan. I thought this line was going to be double digits, more in the 14 range. I watched almost all of the row game last week. Their receiver, Corey Davis, I think is going to be a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. Their quarterback's really good. He doesn't make many mistakes. This is a tough one. I wanted to take Toledo this week. I think you did too, but the line is a little small for me.
Yeah, I thought the same when I first saw the line, that it is pretty small. I think if it got to 10.5, I would lean Toledo. But I think Western Michigan, that Corey Davis is too big of a playmaker.
He's really good. I had watched him before. I didn't realize he was 6'3". He's an NFL type of player for sure.
Two quarterbacks pretty good in this game in terms of quarterback efficiency. This should be a fun game to watch.
Yes, I'm not sure if it's on TV or not, but I hope it is.
Friday game in Nebraska. They host Iowa. Nebraska's still technically alive with a win and a Wisconsin loss. They're 3-point underdogs at Iowa. This is at Iowa.
I think I like Iowa. These are two pretty similar teams. But after getting punished at Penn State, Iowa flipped the script a little bit. They upset Michigan, and I know we both liked Illinois last week, and they absolutely skunked Illinois at Illinois. I know the Illini aren't good, but I think Iowa's playing better than they were at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to lean with the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I want to lean Iowa. I want to see what the status on Tommy Armstrong is. If he plays, I may lean the other way.
I watched a little bit of their backup last week, the Fife kid against Maryland. He wasn't terrible. They got up early and they kind of, packed it in at 8 o'clock. But to me, he wasn't all that different.
Nebraska has had a brutal schedule of late, so that could perhaps be catching up with them. Wisconsin, Ohio State, Minnesota, 3 weeks in a row.
Well, they had a bye week last week against Maryland, so they should be fresh.
So to me, it depends on Armstrong's status.
Fair enough.
Interesting game in Texas. They host the Horned Frogs in what may be Charlie Strong's last game. 2.5-point favorites.
This one has all types of weirdness going on. TCU has underperformed. Texas has underperformed, but now the kids are probably fighting for, not fighting for his job, but think they are. There was talk about them protesting or boycotting, but Charlie Strong seems to have put an end to that. I was pretty surprised TCU got killed the way they did against Oklahoma State at home. I think Texas's players are going to come out insane, thinking they could save Strong's job. So I think I like the Longhorns for the 15th time this year.
I was high on TCU at the beginning of the year, and I think I liked them 10 straight weeks. And I think they were 0-10 when I liked them. They have been the most disappointing team to me this year. And what I thought was going to be a bounce back, especially on defense year for Patterson, they have been terrible defensively.
Yes, they have.
And I think you hit right on it. I think these kids are going to play hard for Charlie. I really like Texas in this spot.
I'm a little scared that the line is that low. I thought it was going to be more 4 or 5. I know they just lost to Kansas, but still. Under a field goal, I'm with you. I think that's a very good value.
Official.
I'm good with that, yeah.
All right. To the battle in North Carolina. Carolina's still alive to face Clemson in the ACC championship. They'll need a win over NC State and a Vatek loss. This game is in North Carolina. They're 10.5-point favorites.
10.5 is a lot. Against a team that I've watched a few times, NC State, I really liked their defense. They, ever since that brutally tough, close loss to Clemson, it's almost as if they packed it in. They've really struggled. They got smoked by Louisville, lost to a Boston College team, which is a horrific loss. Lost another close one to Florida State. And they lost again last week to Miami. So stay away from me. If I had to pick a lean, though, I think I would take the points here.
I don't have a great feel for it. So I'm gonna have to pass. I don't even know where to go. I think North Carolina will play hard, but in these rivalry games, double digits is a lot.
Yep.
Maybe the best Apple Cup ever. Washington goes to Wazoo as a 6-point favorite. Your thoughts?
Oh boy, I really was impressed with Washington State last week. I know the final score ended up, I think they lost by 2 touchdowns in Boulder, but that game was very entertaining. Their offense, to me, what Mike Leach was doing, was almost unstoppable. They had a couple mistakes at the end there that cost them, and their defense wore down against Colorado's rushing attack, which is very, very good. I think I like Wazoo here. I'm not sure Washington is as good as their ranking. I know they have athletes all over the field, but I think Wazoo's offense is going to be able to score a ton of points here.
I like Wazoo as well. Washington's secondary's banged up. I was impressed as well last week Washington State really had nothing to play for last week. This was going to be their side of the division against Washington no matter what. They probably didn't have a chance at the playoff even if they won out. And they really played hard last week. I thought the way Mike Leach is, he could have mailed it in and just got ready for Washington. And they did play hard. And I think they win this game outright.
Official.
I'm on it.
I'm on it as well.
To the battle in the Palmetto State, Clemson, 24-point favorite against South Carolina. Your thoughts?
South Carolina is atrocious. I'm not sure they're going to be good for the next 5 years. I know Clemson has underperformed all year, but there is no way I can take South Carolina here. Even with 24, actually lean Clemson in this one.
With all that being said, and I agree with it, I'm going to lean South Carolina.
Oh, no.
This is their Super Bowl. Muschamp could really make a name for himself. I think he's going to pull out every play he's ever thought of in his head.
Has he ever thought of one?
That's a very valid question.
His offenses are just pathetically bad.
I think they find a way to cover this spread. I don't know how, but I think they do.
Man, I feel like we need a side bet on this one between the two hosts here. This is a good one. They let the Western Carolina Catamounts hang around last year.
They were looking ahead.
I know they beat Tennessee. That's an okay win, but man, I'm looking forward to seeing Clemson put up 55 on them.
For entertainment purposes, next weekend, who would you rather see Clemson play, Virginia Tech or North Carolina?
I think Virginia Tech, actually. I know in the beginning of the year I said North Carolina just because of their offense. They haven't been what I thought they were, and I kind of like your Virginia Tech Hokies, what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm hoping for Tech as well. I think Fuente's done an unbelievable job, especially offensively. While we're on the topic, we'll shift to that game in the Commonwealth Battle. Virginia, Tech at home, 18.5-point favorites. A win and they clinch.
Yeah, this is a pretty good line to me. I can see this game ending right in that 17 to 20 range. I think Tech is clearly the better team, although Virginia has played much better the second half of the season, if you will, but too many points for me to take the underdog.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is another one I think Virginia will try and pull out all the stops. But 18.5 is too many for me to lean the Hokies here. I do think the Hokies win. But there's that shot at the back door in this one.
Yeah, Virginia's lost, I think, 6 in a row, but none of those have really been true blowouts. They've all been in that 5 to 15-point range. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Colorado, 10.5-point favorites against Utah.
I think I'm leaning Utah here, even though Colorado has been my bet of the week for it seems like ever. They had a physical game against Wazoo. They had to play right to the end. It seemed like that game was almost like a championship game for them, and Utah is pretty good, so I lean with that many points.
I don't believe Colorado has lost against the spread this year. I believe they're 10-0-1.
I think they're 10-1.
10-1.
I think so.
I'm with you though. I lean Utah. I think they bounce back after that loss against Oregon. I have no idea how they lost to Oregon.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I think Washington State took a lot out of Colorado last week. I think this is going to be one of the more exciting games of the weekend.
That's a good point. That's exactly my thought. Just the energy spent last week in Colorado. I watched most of that game. It just seemed like they were playing so hard. I think they'll win this game. I just think it'll be close.
Staying in the Pac-12, it has turned into such a shitty game that they've taken it out of prime time, and it's now 3:30, 12:30 West kick. USC 17.5 points against Notre Dame.
Wow, I didn't realize the 12:30 West kick. Holy crap. There might not be anyone there. Good win for USC last week over the crosstown rivals, even though UCLA is atrocious. I don't know. I've been back and forth on these teams all year. The Irish are also 4-7. I still believe in Deshaun Kaiser, but I can't pick either side here.
Yeah, this seems like the type of game that Notre Dame probably plays well in. But their defense is so bad. I cannot take them.
It is very bad, and they have, I don't know if you saw the news, there's some sort of academic scandal that they finally ruled on at Notre Dame, so see how that affects them going through the week.
Is Brian Kelly on the hot seat officially next year?
Next year, yeah, not this year. I think he gets a pass this year for some reason.
Are you still as high on Deshaun Kaiser as we were in the beginning of the year?
No, definitely not as high. I like what he brings. I like his tools, but maybe it's just the team's failure affecting him and my perception of him. I still think he's probably the best quarterback in the draft, but man, I'd be scared to use a top whatever pick on him.
Has Mitch Trubisky jumped up your board at all?
I don't know if he is a very good college quarterback or an actual NFL prospect. He's a weird one to me. He kind of reminds me of Kirk Cousins a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how he does in the combine. Because I do think he may emerge as the number one quarterback.
That would be interesting. That would certainly be an upset from the preseason.
Florida State 6.5-point favorites hosting Florida. Florida's already clinched the SEC East.
For that reason, and because of their rivalry, I think I like Florida State under the touchdown here.
My only concern is Florida State going to want to play? I know it's a rivalry game. Does that concern you at all?
Well, it concerns me with 75% of the games that we've listed so far the last 10 minutes, and Florida State would be near the top of those that would pack it in. But I just think they have far better talent on offense than Florida does. I could see them winning, 20-10 type of thing, 21-10.
Yeah, I don't know how Florida scores.
Right, that's my concern with Florida is how can they score more than 13 points?
Iron Bowl. Interesting stat, crazy stat. This is the 9th straight year for the Iron Bowl that one of these teams is number one. 8 of those years, obviously, has been Bama. But 9 straight years.
That's crazy. This late into the season like that.
Bama at home, 17.5-point favorite, hosting cross-state rival.
Man, I don't know. That line's so high, but Auburn hasn't played the last couple of weeks kind of the way I thought. As good as they were, I thought this game was going to mean a lot more. I don't think I've backed Bama yet this year. I could be wrong. I don't really have a feel for this one.
I wanted to lean Auburn.
So do I, but I can't do it.
They get that good win over Arkansas, then Mississippi, then lay an egg against Vandy and survive, lose at Georgia, and then Alabama A&M last week. I really like their defense, but I don't know how they score.
Right. Oh, I will say Gus Malzahn has had Saban's number when it comes to the X's and O's offense versus defense, but I don't think he has a quarterback this year that runs his system exactly how he likes it.
It's really dumb of me to go against Bama, but I'm going to lean Auburn.
I do not have a lean here.
to the Big Ten, to the big game in the shoe. Ohio State 6.5-point favorites against Michigan.
After being called out on the official podcast by the arrogant Davy Trump, Michigan has gone on to lose and then get a scare from two pretty horrific teams and programs. But I think I like Michigan. I really like how their defense lines up against Ohio State.
Oh, this depends. I have to see the weather forecast.
That's a good point. I have not looked at the early weather forecast.
If the weather is not a factor, I like Ohio State by double digits.
Wow.
But if it's a factor and Barrett has to make some throws, I lean Michigan.
I will look up the weather right now. Do you have the kick time?
12 o'clock.
Oh, wow. Early game, too?
I would have no confidence as a Michigan fan watching that O'Korn kid throw last week.
No, he was awful.
I mean, Indiana's defense is atrocious.
Saturday, 45 degrees, winds 10 to 15 miles per hour.
I like the Buckeyes.
All right, there you go.
I think they win this game by 10.
Something about, I don't know what it is. There's just something about it I do not like.
It is a very intriguing game from a lot of different aspects.
The coaching aspect to me is the most intriguing.
That, and I'm very excited to watch Jabril Peppers on Saturday.
Yes. I just really like Michigan's secondary. I think maybe I'm being blinded by the 3 or 4 times I've watched JT Barrett. He has not been the guy that I expected this year. I will say his legs this weekend are the X factor to me. If he can get out of the pocket and make plays, Michigan's in trouble. But I think Michigan's secondary is going to lock down Ohio State's receivers. It'll be interesting if they can force him into a mistake because he does force some throws.
That is it right there. Because Ohio State, I've watched them a decent amount this year. They don't have that receiver that can stretch the field. Samuel's nice, but he's not that big of a playmaker. So they are going to have to grind out long drives. And in that respect, Barrett does concern me.
Yeah, he gets impatient every once in a while. I don't know. Maybe that is what's holding me back from liking Ohio State. But in these games where I'm not sure, something smells a little bit, I think I'm leaning the points. I wish it was a full touchdown, but
It is pretty crazy. I believe this line was around 1 or 2 when the year started. And 3 weeks ago, Michigan was a 7-point favorite. And now Ohio State's almost a touchdown favorite.
yeah. And Ohio State really hasn't done anything to deserve that type of line swing, in my opinion.
Well, all the folks in Happy Valley will have their Buckeye gear on. At 3:30, they'll know their fate. They kick off against Sparty, 12.5-point favorites at home.
I like the Nets. I've been pretty good with them this year. I think the Michigan State side is probably going to have more tickets with this line, especially what they saw last week against Ohio State. I think the way that game ended really hurt Sparty. I think some of their players are going to be still have that hangover, thinking they could have knocked off the Buckeyes. I don't think Penn State brings that cachet of knocking a team off like that. The 12.5 number to me too is higher than what most people probably think it should be. I think they expect to see 8, 9, and when they see 12.5 with a team that just almost beat Ohio State, they think it's free money. So I'm backing Barkley and the Knicks.
Official?
Do you like them or you just
I do. Dude, my only worry would be if Ohio State does lose, is there any hangover effect?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I'm going to take that out of the equation, and I think Franklin will have the ears and the eyes shut off and focus on business.
Yeah, I think everything you said is right on. The only concern to me is Penn State's offensive line, which is banged up. Michigan State's defensive line is okay. But I think this could be blowout.
I like Penn State's defense against Michigan State's offense almost as much as any matchup this year. I wish there was a prop bet. Will Penn State's defense score a touchdown? I would bet yes.
Wow. I think this
Yeah.
is the perfect matchup for them as well.
Official for me.
All right, it's official.
The only way this gets waved off is if Chef Ed comes flying in with a red flag and challenges us and says, no, don't do it.
Chef Ed is right on Expedia right now looking at hotels in Indianapolis.
Planning. He's a planner.
Last game on the slate to talk about, Wisconsin winning there in their division. They win the division to go to the Big Ten title. 14.5 point favorite at home against Minnesota.
The half point there, I don't love. Minnesota's kind of a scrappy team. This is one where I need to see the weather forecast
Yes.
as well, but if you can get it at 14, I'd like Bucky the Badger. 14.5, though, I'm going to stay away.
I'm with you. Officials are Texas -2.5, Wazoo +6, Penn State -12.5.
I really like those.
Anything else in college football from you?
No, really interested to see the rankings come out tonight. I'm sure Twitter will be ablaze with controversy.
I actually do have one more thing for you. Odds for the national champion. Alabama -140, Buckeyes +250, Clemson +700, Michigan +1500, Washington, Wisconsin +1500, Oklahoma +2200, Colorado, Penn State +4500. Any value?
I have three written down here. I'll start from the bottom. Just based on their path to the playoff and where they're currently ranked, Penn State has to have some value at that number, even if you're only betting $1. I know I just ripped Davy Trump for this, but I think Michigan, because of the path and where they sit, plus 1,500 is pretty good value. And then I like Clemson. I know they were my preseason pick. They're still in position to do that. They have not looked as impressive. Their offense especially has struggled. But they're still going to be in the playoff, I think. And at plus 700, I think those are about as good as odds you're going to get for one of the 4 playoff teams.
Yeah, I think Clemson has a ton of value. I think they're probably going to end up in the 2 or 3 slot, which avoids Bama in round 1.
Yep.
And if you get there, anything could happen. So I think Clemson has a ton of value.
Totally agree.
To the NFL. Your thoughts on the NFL after 11 weeks?
I mean, I love the NFL. I love varsity football. But, man, I just can't nail down the teams this year. I think we have problems going against or for the same teams over and over, and they keep screwing us. But, you know, it's been a good year. There's some parity. There's 2 to 4 really good teams, like there always is. I think there's 3 to 6 teams that are up and coming that have pieces of the puzzle but aren't there yet. And then the rest of the league is kind of like the NBA, where they have no shot. They need to blow it up.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions written down similar to the college football that I want to run by you. First one, starting Thanksgiving aside, do you like the Thursday games?
No, except for Thanksgiving, like you said. I think it waters down the product. When's the last time you saw a good Thursday night game?
Not only that, do you think it hurts the teams moving forward, and it affects the quality of play moving forward after you play a Thursday night game?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, I can't imagine, you know, if you watch an NFL game playing on a short week like that, your body just has no time to recover, let alone the limited time for game planning and watching film. The recovery is just so little when you play a Thursday night game.
The schedule maker should be shot. Washington, the players probably didn't leave the locker room till around 1 o'clock Sunday. And now they're going to go to Dallas on Thursday for an afternoon game.
Yeah, and it's not like they got the Cleveland Browns Sunday night. They had to play the Green Bay Packers, and now they have to go play their biggest rival on that short of a week.
If I was Daniel Snyder with Daniel Snyder moves, I would not show up on Thursday to boycott this schedule.
He is sort of petulant like that, so I wouldn't be shocked if that was discussed at some point.
I think it's an absolute travesty.
It's tough. That's the team I root for, so I don't want to sound like one of those guys. But the schedule maker, I can't believe it was that big of an oversight.
I know that they got a week off in between, but this was a team that went to London 2 weeks ago as well.
Right, exactly. So basically, you had to travel halfway across the world. They give you a little bit of a break, and then they smash the two biggest games of your season within 3 days of each other.
Sticking with Washington, are you sold on Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I'm not sure what else people need to see. Unless you're Tom Brady, and even him, he makes that one dumb throw every now and then. Kirk just makes one terrible decision every game. You just have to live with it. Last 20 games, you can put his numbers up against anybody, and they're gonna be right there. So I have no idea what else people want.
I think he's answered every question. I love the fact that he bet against himself. What kind of contract do you think he's looking at?
A huge one. It will be interesting to see who gets more money, him or Matthew Stafford. I think you'll see Kirk just, because it's 2016-17, he'll probably be a top 5 paid quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you have to. What else are you going to do? Go draft someone? He's proven that he can play at a very, very high level. You just have to know that he's going to make a mistake or two. Like almost every quarterback in the league does.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you have to pay him.
If you go to the tape and look this year alone, him versus Derek Carr, what's the difference? Derek Carr.
I'm extremely high on Washington's offense.
I
would argue
really good.
that is one of the best divisions in football, with maybe the best team in football in it, and I think Washington has the best offense in that division.
I would agree, and I think there's numbers to back up both of your statements. All 4 teams in the division have a plus point differential. The only other division to boast that is the AFC West, who many would argue is the best division in football as well.
Staking in that division, Tony Romo landing spots.
Already heard it's Denver. That's his preference. If you were asking me to pick 3 or more than one, Denver and Houston to me make too much sense almost. I can't see the Jets or the Browns or anything like that.
You brought it up last night, which I didn't think of. Dallas is in a fantastic spot for years to come. Trading Romo, have the offense in place, draft defense. They're in a great spot, and I hate to say it.
They don't have to pay Dak anything for 4 years. Zeke is making first-round money, but it's slotted. So he's only making $4.5–5 million a year. They could probably get rid of some of their heavier contracts. Romo obviously will open up a ton of cash, but guys like Orlando Scandrick will probably open up $5 or $6 million a year. I'm all for. Des Bryant's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but this offense doesn't really lend his skills to be used that often. The way they're playing, so I would try to get a first rounder for him and shed that money. They could just build that defense into something dominant. And with that offensive line and running game, 10 years, next 10 years, they could be unstoppable.
No, I'm with you. I think they go out and get a elite tight end somehow, or draft a tight end, and build the defense.
Yeah. The NFC East, I was looking at contract last night. the Eagles are in a really good spot with their contracts. They'll be able to do some moves. Washington traditionally never has money to spend, but they have a ton of big contracts coming off the book. Obviously, they have to pay Kirk Cousins, but they're going to still have a ton of money left over. And the Giants, they're not in as good of a position, but their young players are really good too. So I think the NFC East the next 5 years is going to be the best division in football.
Yeah, I think so as well. Especially when you look at the quarterbacks.
Exactly. Yep.
Coaches to be fired. These is from 2 weeks ago. I couldn't find updated odds. I'm sure that they've changed, but Mike McCoy was 7-2. Jim Caldwell 4-1. Jeff Fisher 6-1. Gus Bradley 12-1. I would imagine Bradley has to be the favorite now.
Yeah, he's probably under even money now. Just going through those names, I think Jeff Fisher might be safe, as crazy as that sounds. I think he's going to get a 1-year pass with the rookie quarterback scenario. Agree?
Yes, I think he played that perfectly.
Yeah, so do I. Jim Caldwell's first place in his division, so tough to say he's going to get canned when it looks like the Lions might win the North. Gus, obviously, I think he'll be fired the day after the season ends. I think there's a name probably high on the odds list now, and his name is Marvin Lewis.
Yep, that was who I was going to ask you about next.
The names I have written down as others to consider, Marvin Lewis, I think, is a foregone conclusion. I think Chuck Pagano might have saved his job with Andrew Luck getting a concussion. He could probably say, we're only one game out of the division lead, and Andrew Luck's not playing maybe our most important game of the season. So he might get another year. John Fox, maybe he's going to say it's not his roster. Jay Cutler wasn't his guy. They've had more injuries than the other team in the NFL, so maybe he gets another year, another crack at the draft. And then the two other ones, Mike McCarthy, we'll see how that plays out. In my opinion, they'll probably fire Don Capers and hire a new defensive coordinator and give McCarthy another go. And I know it's only his first year, but Chip Kelly, something might happen there. I don't know what it is, but they're awful. And if you look at the Eagles basically turning over their entire roster, if I'm the 49ers brass, I don't have much confidence that Chip Kelly's going to turn over the roster in a good way.
Perfect segue. As I watched the Eagles play the Seahawks on Sunday and Pete Carroll patrol the sidelines, why wouldn't Chip get out of San Fran, like, right now? That team's not turning around in 2 to 3 years no matter what he does. That's a terrible roster. He'll be fired if he doesn't leave. Why wouldn't you go back to college right now? There's some top programs open. Win a national title or compete for one. And if you want to go back to the NFL, you probably could and pick your landing spot, similar to what Pete Carroll did.
You would know him way better than I. Just on my observations, he's a horrific roster builder. The Eagles had to purge so many non-NFL guys out of there. They're still dealing with a couple of them. Is he into money? I don't know. Does he really care about money? I'm not sure. You had him in Philly, so you would know. But if you're going to get out, this to me seems like the year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's probably set for life money-wise. He's not married as far as I know. He is stubborn. That's the only thing. And I don't see him going to an LSU or maybe not even a Texas where you have to do all that booster behind-the-scenes stuff because that's not him.
The intriguing job for him would be if Petrino leaves Louisville. Is that a good job for him?
Yes.
Like, you can get talent there. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road program, but if you build the roster there, you can dominate that conference.
Not only that, he's not under the radar, but Rick Pitino and the basketball team is going to get the headlines in Louisville.
Yeah, that's a good point. Didn't think about that either.
Yeah, I think so. If Fedora left North Carolina, I think that's another spot. You can recruit all up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, I agree. A job like that seems like what he would be interested in coming back for. I think maybe if this is year 2 of San Francisco, it's probably more of a possibility. But if you look at a big picture, I just can't see how it makes sense to stay there.
Three other things on Seattle. What would your strategy be? How to slow that offense down? I watched Belichick try and rush 2 or 3, and then I watched the Eagles get pressure and Wilson escape, and then you're dead.
Yeah, it's a hard offense to stop when Wilson's healthy just because he's a very smart runner. Meaning he knows when to get down, he knows how to get yardage. To me, yeah, Doug Baldwin's a nice receiver, but I keep going back to this one team. The Denver defense is built to stop them where they can get after the passer rushing their 4 or 5, and they can put their quarterbacks on an island against, receivers that are just okay. I think Harris or Talib can handle Doug Baldwin. Jimmy Graham's a little bit of a matchup problem, but I'm not sure he can beat you by himself. So for me, I load the box, and I spy Wilson with somebody like a TJ Ward, a safety that can run, and you make him beat the blitz throwing the football. I think that's the one way to beat them.
Is when you lay that out, is your Washington Bravehearts set up to beat Seattle with Cravens able to spy Wilson and the corners Breland and Norman could go one-on-one with those receivers?
I am 75% there. My issue with Washington is their sack numbers are there, but it's more they get coverage sacks.
Yeah.
They don't put pressure on quarterbacks. And I don't care how good your corners are. Receivers will get open if you do not rush the passer. I think they would have some success running the ball up the middle, which once you do that, it opens everything up. I don't think they have enough pass rushers to beat a team that good.
I don't think it's going to sound silly to say, but I don't know if it's necessary to have legit pass rushers against Wilson. You have to find a way to somehow keep him in the pocket.
Yeah.
And make him throw from the pocket.
Your Sua Cravens is mentioned is very interesting because he did that last week with Aaron Rodgers, and it worked very well. I know Rodgers had a good game, but that was more other things. When he tried to escape, Cravens had a very good game. He's the exact type of player that you need to spy Wilson with.
The other thing that came to my mind as I watched Seattle, now the Eagles receivers are terrible, but they are so physical on the outside and even physical in the trenches. If you're a referee and you see that for 3 quarters, come the 4th quarter, doesn't that just look like part of the game?
Totally agree. I think they get away with things that other teams don't just because everyone goes into the game knowing and anticipating that. And I guess as a ref, you're supposed to let teams play their style, but, it's hard when you play 14, 15 other games and it's called one way, and you play Seattle, it's called totally different. I think that Gronkowski, Cam Chancellor play is pass interference in every other game during the season, basically.
Yes.
It's probably pass interference if it's the first half.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think you're totally right.
With all the rule changes and some of the decisions we've seen from coaches, do you think that these are bad decisions, or is it just because we're not used to it with the rule changes and field goal kickers struggling with extra points when guys go for 2?
I think, I could be wrong, but I think it is more the kickers struggling. I don't have any field goal stats from years past versus today. I do have stats on the extra point. Right now, the league extra point is at 93.6%. Going for 2, the league is at 53.7%. So take with that what you will. I think this last weekend probably skewed the first number a little bit down, but 94% is still pretty high compared to 53.
We saw it in Washington Sunday night, and I had this written down to ask you last week, but we didn't get a chance to podcast. But as the weather gets worse, are we going to see more teams go for two?
I would think so, and I know you talked about this a couple times on Sunday during the games. If you are going to have a game plan to go for two, to me it's not the decision to go for two that's been wrong. It's the play calls when they're in the situations. It almost seems like teams are not prepared with a play or a pocket of plays when going for two. The Redskins sure weren't. They ran one of the worst plays I've ever seen going for two. They just ran a power right up the middle, and the Packers knew it was coming. It didn't go anywhere. You would think you'd have your 5 best goal line type of plays in a pocket and have your quarterback call one based on what he sees.
I couldn't agree more. On these 2-point conversions, it seems these teams try to get so cute and fancy with it. Just run a normal 2-yard play.
I know. I don't get it. When the team's on the 40-yard line, I know you get more space, there's more room to operate. But, man, it seems like some of the plays they work so well. But when they get on the goal line, coaches just freeze up. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, some of the 2-point conversion calls.
Yeah. I don't think it's the wrong call to go for two, especially when the weather gets bad. I just think it's the play calling that gets bad and makes it look like a bad decision.
What do you have any theory or thoughts on field goal kickers struggling with the extra points and struggling overall?
Sort of. I think it's mental. I liken field goal kickers and kickers in general to golfers. Once you get it in your head, that miss, it is hard to get it out and build your confidence back up until you start seeing good things happen. Just like with a driver in your hand, if you see the ball hook a couple times, you're probably not going to hit it great the rest of the day. I liken it to that.
I think you're right on with that. I also take it a little bit further, and when the extra point was snapped from the 2 and it was a 18, 20-yard kick, whatever it used to be, to see it go through had to build your confidence. When something good happens early, kind of use it as a practice kick.
Yeah.
Now you're under pressure every time you walk out on the field.
Exactly. That shorter kick, basically you're not aiming or steering, right? You're just naturally booting it through. When they moved it back to 33, it's almost like guys are steering the ball now.
Wanted to ask you this last week as well. The end of the Seattle-New England game, 31-24, and Pete Carroll decides to go for two to try and end it. Your thoughts on that decision?
After having this long to reflect on it, I can see his reasoning for wanting to put the game totally away on the road and go up 9. But to me, I'm a percentage guy. If you kick it and you're up 8, and we just said 94% extra point rate, so pretty good percentage. Last time you saw a team march all the way down the field, score touchdowns, and convert a 2-point conversion, no idea what the real percentage is, but I would think it has to be under 20%.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it certainly makes the decision look stupid, but for some reason I liked it.
Yeah, it's kind of going for the throat, which I do like. Just with an offense that you're going against with with Tom Brady and Gronkowski and Edelman, up 7 to me is a lot different than up 8. It wouldn't have shocked me if New England had scored, but getting that other 2-point conversion, I think, is a whole other thing.
2 more questions for you. It seems this year that the lines, the point spread, are field goals. I think my guess would be it's got to be somewhere between 60 and 70%, which
It does seem like that.
leads me to believe the parity is so great in this league. And it's good for the respect that if you're bad, you could get good pretty quickly. But do you like the parity in the league?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're kind of in a transition period where we have the same 4 or 5 good teams every year. I think in the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to see more like 7 or 8 really good teams instead of just those 3 or 4. I think we're on the brink of having maybe half the league be pretty good and then half the league be really bad instead of the tiers that we have now, really good, kind of average, or really shitty.
And a last fun question. 2 weeks ago, I had to watch Odell Beckham, who has climbed the ladder as my most hated NFL player. And I cannot watch Cam Newton cry at the podium another week, so he would be number 2 on my hated list. Give me your 3 most hated players in the NFL today.
Well, I heard 2. I need to hear a third.
Has to be Dak Prescott.
Okay, good. Because he's my number 1. I just can't stand him already. I hate him. I just hate looking at his face. I hate the way he plays. I hate the way he celebrates. I can't stand Dak Prescott. Number 2 for me, and maybe it's just recency bias, I hate Brock Osweiler. He has no business being in the NFL. He totally fucked me over last night. He's the only guy in the world that can make DeAndre Hopkins disappear. I cannot stand Brock Osweiler. And number 3 was a throwback for me. It's been a long time coming that I get to say this. Joe freaking Flacco. He is not elite. He stinks. He had one good run in the playoffs. There's no way that he's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Honorable mention for me, Russell Wilson. The guy acts like he's a saint. He's perfect. Every interview is just nauseating listening to him talk to the media.
After watching him last week, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I can't tell if he's a good quarterback or not. He kind of just... Wilson. He gets out of the pocket, and then he just kind of makes something happen. I mean, and I give him credit for it. Cam Newton does the same thing. But I think the league has changed so much that if he had to play 10, 15 years ago, he couldn't play in this league.
No, his head would be blown off by 10 hits a game.
That's the other thing. He never gets hit clean.
There's if you on Twitter, there's 2 good follows for people. Mike Freeman, who is a writer, and Pete Prisco, who's a CBS writer analyst. Prisco lays it out every week for you, what you just said, basically. Freeman is a Wilson apologist, thinks he's the best quarterback in the league, bar none. Prisco does a very good job with tape, basically saying half the time Wilson makes the wrong decision, but he had Marshawn Lynch for 8 years, making him look good, and he has the best defense in the last 20 years, probably, every year. So he has way more freedom than other quarterbacks still.
Perfect segue to who would you rather? Give me the quarterback you want for the next 5 years.
Oh my God, this is such a hard question. I think we have to eliminate our guy.
Yeah.
Tommy Terrific.
Yep.
Just because I know he's great this year. I thought he was going to be great, but, you know, age 40 is coming. It's coming fast. He's not going to do it for too much longer. I know we just killed him, but Russell's got to be on that list or be somewhere. I'm still a believer, though, in one guy up north in Green Bay. I think it's Aaron Rodgers for me. I think he just needs a change of scenery, change of coach, whatever it is.
How high is Derek Carr on your list?
Next 5 years, I think he would be just outside the top 5. If I'm going through names, I think I like Rodgers, Luck, Wilson, Cam. Maybe he's number 5. The interesting name to me is Phil Rivers too old for the next 5 years, or Big Ben too old for the next 5 years.
I think Big Ben's going to die on the field one of these weeks.
That's the thing. If you'd asked me before the year, I think Big Ben would have been an easy one for me. But the injuries are starting to pile up. It seems like it's every year. But Phil Rivers seems to me like he's never hurt. And if he actually ever had any players on his offense, I think he'd be in the top 5 for me. I think I'd rather have same roster, same everything. I think I'd have Rivers over Carr.
And now fun. Who would you rather? Would you rather have Brock Osweiler or Blake Bortles?
Blake Bortles not even close.
Brock Osweiler or Colin Kaepernick?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Kaepernick was a sneaky omission from our most hated list. I think that's it, Kaepernick.
Brock Osweiler or Geno Smith?
Ooh, same roster. Ooh, I think Gino might be better.
Brock Osweiler or Case Keenum?
Case Keenum not even close.
Brock Osweiler or Scott Tolzien?
I would say Tolzien just because his name's more fun to say.
Brock Osweiler or Cody Kessler?
Oh man. Well, Cody Kessler, I think, has his third concussion of the year, and he's only a rookie, so he might not be in the league anymore. But to me, he's showing more promise than Brock Osweiler. And I'd take his backup Josh McCown over him too.
And the last one, contracts factored in, Brock Osweiler or Jay Cutler?
Well, who's making more? I mentioned Brock's making more. Smoking Jay would be pretty hard to deal with as a fan, I think, just because he doesn't give a shit. I think I would rather run the Wildcat with Ronnie Hillman. That would be my choice.
Before we get in against the Lions, let's run through the divisions, their division odds. Cowboys minus 600, Giants plus 800, Hearts plus 1,000, Eagles plus 5,000.
The Cowboys are too far ahead.
I agree. I don't think there's any value there. The North, minus 110 for the Lions, Vikes plus 175, Pack plus 400, Bears plus basically $1 million.
I did not look at future schedules for all these, but I think there's got to be a little bit of value on the Vikes 175.
Yeah, I think so too, especially if they win Thursday.
If they win Thursday, and the reports are true that Peterson might come back second week in December, there's definitely some value there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think after this week, next week, we'll sit down and break down the rest of the division going game by game. Move along to the South. Falcons minus 360, the Wagon plus 500, Panthers plus 1,000, Saints plus 1,500.
Huge win for the Wagon this week in Kansas City. I would say there's probably a little value there. I don't know how confident I am in that, but an Atlanta Falcons collapse can never be ruled out.
Yeah, I think that it's worth sprinkling a little bit on the Wagon.
Yeah, shekel there gets you a nice return.
Chickens minus 3,000, Cards plus 1,200, Rams plus 6,000.
Nah, it's too far gone.
This one's probably too far gone as well. Pats minus 7,500. I'm not even going to go through the rest. It is. AFC.
Miami Dolphins might be worth a shekel there.
Interesting. I was going to get into the Dolphins in a minute. AFC North, Steelers minus 180, Ravens plus 200, Bengals plus 1,200.
From a purely value standpoint, I would think Baltimore at 200 still has some value.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they have the tougher schedule of them in Pittsburgh. But as I said, we'll break that down next week. I couldn't get up to date odds on the South and the West, but the last ones were published a week and a half ago. Texans minus 175, Colts plus 275, Titans plus 350.
I'm assuming that's probably because of the Luck injury.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I need to see an update on Andrew Luck, because him playing this week is huge for that.
AFC West, Raiders plus 160, Broncos plus 200, Chiefs plus 250, Chargers plus 1600.
I'm going to stay the course and say there's some value on Denver there.
Yeah, probably next week we can get some up-to-date ones.
Yeah.
AFC odds for the AFC champion. Pats minus 110. The next closest, Raiders plus 700. Steelers plus 750. Broncos plus 900. Chiefs plus 1200. Colts, Texans plus 2200. Dolphins, Ravens 2500. Bills 5000. Titans 7500.
I have two. I'm going to stay the course again with Denver. Just what they did last year against the Patriots, I think their defense at full strength can win them win them 4 straight playoff games essentially. And then I might throw $1 on the Miami Dolphins
Yes.
because they're hot.
Yes.
That gets you a hell of a return. They have a really, really good defensive line, and they're running the ball down people's throats. You never know.
I am on the Dolphins wagon hard right now. They can control the line of scrimmage. They need to get Pouncey healthy on the offensive line. But if they get healthy on that offensive line, they are a scary team in the playoffs because they have a playoff-type roster.
They do. I really like the combo of Devontae Parker and Jarvis Landry, too. When you need a play, if Tannehill has time, those receivers are formidable covers. And like you said, when healthy, their offensive line's really good.
Quickly, I have their schedule in front of me. Give me win or loss. Let's see if they can get in. This week, they have the Niners.
Win.
That would put them 7-4. At Ravens.
Oh, wow. Huge game. Huge game. I would need to see the Ravens schedule, but let's give that one to the Baltimore Ravens.
That would make them 7-5. The Ravens have the Bengals this week.
Yeah, see, they'll be nice and fresh.
Yeah. Dolphins then get the Cards at home.
I think that could be a sneaky win, actually.
8-5. At Jets. Saturday night.
Tough game, but I think it's going to be important, and the Jets are in full implosion mode. I'll take Miami.
9-5. At Bills.
Tough game. I'll say loss there.
9-6. Patriots at home to end the year.
Win.
Patriots probably won't have anything to play for.
Exactly.
There's a road to 10-6.
I think it's there. 2 or 3 of those were toss-up games. Those 2 or 3 are probably going to determine their whole season.
Then it would appear to me that if they could sneak into the 5 seed and get the AFC South in round 1,
Pound town. What if the Titans are the winner there? Is over under the number of passes thrown 9.5?
it'll be a high school football game.
Yes, it will.
Well, actually, either way, I don't know if I'd want to see the Steelers in the playoffs, but that's a winnable game if they're the 3 seed.
Of course it is. They might run for 700 yards against the Steelers.
And I think they match up with New England. I don't know if they can go to Foxborough and win, but I think they match up.
Clearly, the formula to beat Miami is to force Tannehill into 5 turnovers, which he's prone to do. New England certainly does not have the personnel to do that right now, at least.
I think the Dolphins are worth a big-time sprinkle.
I think so. I think we need Tundra on the horn. Maybe a shekel or 2.
NFC side, Seahawks plus 200, Cowboys plus 210, Falcons plus 1,000, Giants plus 1,300, Lions plus 1,500, Hearts plus 1,500, Vikings plus 2,000, Cards, Packers, Panthers 2,500, Bucks, Eagles 5,000, Saints 7,500.
To me, I'm shocked that it is not a New England type of situation, but I guess it's because they have 2 pretty dominant teams. I think Seattle at 200 is kind of a gift.
I agree.
You know, usually I'm not one for the front runner, but I was thinking you might say more like 145, 130, but I guess because Dallas gets so much love, 200 to me is a bet.
I think that Washington has some value at plus 1,500, but that schedule worries me.
Yeah, they have a hard schedule.
Oh wait, I'm looking at their schedule right now. Not only do they go London by Green Bay, they have 3 straight road games coming up. At Dallas, at Arizona, at Philly.
Yeah, they will not see FedEx for a while.
Oh, that's a fucking travesty.
I think it's the NFL sticking it to Snyder for the old free agent tampering a couple of years ago when they hit him with that huge fine. I think they're continuing to stick it to him.
Now I know that a lot of other teams have 3 road games in a row or 3 home games in a row. I know that's happened on some other schedules, but the way that this has set up is an absolute joke.
It's bad, and I don't think it is just Washington. I think the Eagles, maybe it ended last week, but they had played
4 straight.
on 10 days of rest for like a month in a row.
4 straight, yep.
I'm not sure what old Commissioner Goodell has against the NFC East.
The Packers didn't leave Green Bay for a month and a half.
I know.
From September 25th through till October 30th, they were home.
That's the old TV team, you know. You gotta cater to them.
Oh, yeah. So with that schedule, I don't know if there's any other value in the NFC.
I don't.
I don't like the Falcons.
I've gotten off the Arizona Cardinals, so that one to me stuck out at first. But now I think about it, they're dead in the water.
I guess the only other team you can make a case for is maybe the Giants. Their schedule's not a cakewalk either, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about the Giants I just don't like. I don't think they're that good of a team.
I don't either. It's been smoke and mirrors to me for them.
Exactly. My thoughts as well.
Yeah, so I think it's Seahawks or nothing.
Yep.
I think Super Bowl odds, Patriots plus 260, Seahawks plus 500, Cowboys plus 550, Steelers 1,500, Raiders 1,600, Broncos 2,000, Falcons 2,000, G-Men 2,500, Chiefs 2,700, Vikings 3,000. We have to go down to 6,000 to get to our Dolphins.
Wow, 6,000 is pretty nice. To me, again, there's only one team on there that I want a piece of, and I'm shocked they're at 500. But give me the chickens.
Anybody else that you Broncos?
Man, I need to see one good game from Trevor Siemian before I get on the Super Bowl for the Broncos.
I think if you're sprinkling though, this has to be the week. They have the Chiefs Sunday night. If they win, those odds probably decrease.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's just something about when their defense is clicking and they're fully healthy, I think they can win games by themselves, just like last year.
Yeah. All right, guess the lines. We're tied on the year at 4-4-1. Missed last week, so we'll get back at it. 5 weeks left. Start Thursday in Detroit for the traditional Thanksgiving feast. Minnesota comes to town. I said Detroit -3.
I said pick 'em.
I get this. It opened 3. It has dropped to 2.5.
Wow. I kind of lean Minnesota. I kind of think Detroit is smoke and mirrors as well.
I'm with you. I don't love the fact that the Vikings have no running game whatsoever.
None.
But I do like the matchup for them.
Yeah, I think their defense can make some plays in this game. They got back to what they traditionally like to do from earlier in the season last week. I think that continues here.
Official?
Let's put it on the side. I want to see what else we agree on here.
Agree. Washington goes to Dallas, as I've bitched about for about 40 minutes now. I said Dallas -6.
I said Dallas 7.
We tie this one right down the middle, open 6.5 up to 7.
I think Washington put a lot of energy into Green Bay. I know Dallas put a lot of energy last week too with Baltimore, but I think Dallas is equipped to beat Washington. I kind of lean Dallas here. I think they are going to run the ball right up the middle over and over. I'm not sure Washington can stop it.
I agree with you. It's a tough spot as it's been laid out. Not only is it Sunday night, basically Monday morning to Thursday, but then you got to go play Dallas, who's very physical.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, much as I hate it, I think you can exploit Dallas' defense, but I'm not sure that they're going to have the energy to do it.
The nightcap, Steelers at Colts. These lines were made prior to Andrew Luck's becoming questionable. I said Pittsburgh -1.
I said Pittsburgh -2.
You get this one. It opened 3. Some sites still have it 3. Some have it off. I've seen it possibly going up to 6 if Luck's out.
Yeah, I was just about to say my guess would be somewhere 6 to 6.5, maybe even 7 if Luck's out. I would lean Pittsburgh here. I think Le'Veon Bell might have another enormous day. I could see the big 3 here having a huge day, all of them.
Under a touchdown, I like Pittsburgh a lot.
I will be curious to see what Tundra Dan thinks. He's been pretty good with Indy this year. Obviously, if Tolzien plays, I doubt he likes them. But if Andrew Luck plays, I'll be interested to see which way he leans.
Sunday games, Superchargers go to Houston. I said Houston -3.
I said Houston 2.5.
You get it. Opened 1. It has remained 1.
I like San Diego.
Off the bye
Just
week.
because Brock Osweiler is playing quarterback for Houston.
Like, what can Bill O'Brien do? I don't know if he has the nuts to just sit Osweiler down because they're winning the division.
I don't think he can do that yet since they have a winning record. But you would think, since he probably spends the most time with quarterbacks, when you're watching film, just stand up in front of the whole room and say, throw the fucking ball to number 10. He's really good.
Like, it is a joke. Like, if we could get equipment managers to deflate footballs, so if that's true, we have to get equipment managers to hide his helmet or something.
There's got to be a way.
I mean,
if I was Bill O'Brien, when they come out against San Diego, I would say, I want 10 targets to DeAndre Hopkins in the first half, or I'm fucking benching you the second half.
I agree.
Like, that's all there's to it. If I don't see 10 targets when I walk in the locker room on the stat sheet, you're not even standing on the sideline, you're going home.
I'm with you.
Anyway, I like San Diego. I think they're the scrappier team here. This seems like it's going to be a messy type of game. I like Phil Rivers.
I think I lean with you. Chargers are just so weird.
I know.
I'll put an X there, but let's see where the line goes as the week moves on.
If we can get that 3, I think it'd be more enticing.
To Chicago, we're just before we came on that Cutler is out, torn labrum. Titans come to town. I said Titans 2.5.
I said Titans 2. I have no idea who's going to play quarterback for Chicago, though.
You get it. It opened a pick. It is up to Titans 3.5. This was prior to the Cutler news, so it may jump even higher. I do not know who their backup
I don't
coach.
know who their third stringer is.
Let me see if I can get it real quick.
Hoyer broke his arm, so it's not
Oh,
him.
that's right.
So I don't know who their third string quarterback was, or who it is at this point. Should they even carry 3 quarterbacks?
I forgot about Hoyer.
He broke his arm, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's healed yet. I would imagine not.
It's an interesting question. I think this is a weird spot either way for the Titans. I still don't trust them on the road. Some about Mariota on the road I just don't trust.
Oh, yes you do. Enter Matt Barkley.
Oh, wow. Matty Barkley. Man, I was wondering where he was.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine
dude.
watching Matt Barkley try and throw a sideline out in the Chicago wind in late November?
Yeah, that changes my perspective. I think I'm ready to eat the 3.5 there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If
that line's too low. There's no way it's staying there. It's got to go up.
if Hoyer is indeed out, this isn't official if Barkley's the quarterback and it's 3.5.
Correct. Yes, I'm with you.
To Buffalo, they host Jacksonville. I said Buffalo 5.5.
I said exactly the same.
Tie open 6.5 up to 7.5.
That's another one we'll probably need to look at the weather. Similar game to me, though, as last week when the Jags should have covered at Detroit and then gagged it away at the end. I lean Buffalo, but I don't want any part of a Jaguars game anymore.
Is Shady in or out?
He's questionable. He had some surgery last night, so he's questionable. He says he's going to play, so we'll see.
Interesting. Cincinnati goes to Baltimore. I said Baltimore 6.5.
I said 6.
Don't understand this line at all. It opened at 3. It's up to 4.5.
Wow. Weird with A.J. Green already ruled out. Gio Bernard ruled out. Jeremy Hill obviously will get the start, so I don't think they lose a ton with Bernard. I would think the A.J. Green thing has got to be worth 2 or 3 points because Baltimore is just going to signal up on the outside, pound me in the middle of that offensive line that's been pretty bad. Man, I think I like Baltimore.
I'm with you. I think
like
that
the middle lines, but that seems low.
I think the Bengals, when AJ Green disappeared into the tunnel, the Bengals quit.
I like Tyler Boyd, but he is not number one.
No.
You can single cover him. Yeah, this is a weird line. I hate the middling lines like this because it just smells funny, but that's not enough points.
Arizona goes to Atlanta. I said Atlanta 4.
I said 3.
I got this one. It opened 4. It has remained 4.
Tyrann Mathieu is questionable. It looks like he wanted to play last week, but they waited a week as precaution. Bruce Arians went to the hospital with chest pain. He's been released this morning, so some weird vibes around Arizona. Man, I don't know who I like here. I don't love Atlanta giving more than a field goal.
With everything you just said, this is prime Atlanta Falcons letdown game.
Yeah, this is a must-win game for Arizona, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
So, my gut wants me to take Arizona.
If Arizona were to lose, I guess the wagon's still technically in it, and maybe Minnesota. But to me, it almost becomes NFC East, 3 teams for 2 spots.
Correct. I totally agree. Arizona, on this topic, Arizona would be an interesting destination for Tony Romo.
Yes.
I think Carson Palmer has hit that age wall.
Michael
You called it preseason, and I think you are right.
Michael Floyd is a free agent. Would you re-sign him if you're Arizona?
I don't know. He's always hurt. He's shown some flashes, but kind of depends on what you're asking for, I think. He's just hasn't been on the field and produced enough for me to give him any significant money.
2 are Miami Dolphins. They host Chip Kelly's. I said Dolphins 9.
8.5.
You got it exactly. It is dropped to 7.5.
What? Oh, man, I don't like that. Off a game game against the Patriots. Now they're going to fly to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game, I'm assuming.
Yes.
The Dolphins, though, have the same travel after being in L.A. So
True.
Scares me away a little bit here, but I think you'll see the Dolphins win this game. I'm never comfortable giving 7.5, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of those Rams, they go.
Fine teaser candidate, though.
Yes. Rams go to the Superdome to face Drew Brees and the Saints. I said Saints 4.5.
I must really like Drew Brees. I said 8.5.
Well, we were both off by 2 points. We split it and opened 6.5 at 7.
This is an interesting matchup because the Rams defense has played pretty well. I know they gave up 2 late touchdowns to lose last week, but they kind of have the front to give Drew Brees problems. It's the secondary I worry about. I can see Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks having big days. I lean Saints here.
Yeah, I think I do as well. But this could be a game that Goff looks pretty good.
He has an opportunity here. There's things going for him and against him. That dome has got to be
True.
enough to be making your second start in. But the Saints defense is what they always are, pathetic. So, kind of goes both ways for me.
The Giants go to Cleveland. I said Giants 8.5.
I said Giants 7.
As we talked about before we got on, these lines never seem to be high. It opened 6.5 at 7.
So I know this is very similar to the game we bet on the Browns last week. We said a couple weeks ago the Giants always have that letdown game. Is this it? Can we go back to Cleveland again? Back-to-back weeks.
Well, next week the Giants go to Pittsburgh. Then they get Dallas and Detroit at home. And end the year at Philly, at Washington. If there's going to be a letdown, it's this week.
Maybe it's just because we're in a hole and I love betting on shitty teams. But I think I'm on the Cleveland Browns here.
Let me ask this. Is McCown starting the game?
We do not know yet. I assume so. I can't imagine second concussion of the year that Kessler's allowed to play.
If McCown starts the game, then yes, I'm on Cleveland this week. But if I have to watch Cody Kessler for 2.5 quarters again to get till he gets his brains beat in to get McCown out there, then I'm not on him.
How many times are NFL GMs going to draft a USC quarterback and think they're going to look different? They look like all the same, except for Carson Palmer.
Well, can we get a memo out about the wide receivers too? I've suffered through some names like Nay Brown, Chris T. Jones, Torrance Small, Dedrick Gels, Kevin Curtis, but Nelson Aguilar is by far the worst receiver the Eagles have ever had.
He is atrocious. I will say, even though I'm an opposing fan, he's atrocious.
He doesn't do one thing good. I don't know if he knows how to walk yet. That's how bad he is.
He doesn't run good routes. He sure can't catch, and he's not even that fast.
He almost didn't even put his hands up as he watched the ball almost hit him in the face mask.
Oh, man.
He can't line up.
If you told me that coming out of college, I would have thought you're crazy.
Now, I mean, that's fucking bullshit. I go to a high school game and I see the wide receiver motion to the ref to see if he's on the line.
I know. I never see that in the NFL. Maybe once a game. He does it every play.
Moving along. The Wagon hosts the Chickens.
What a game this is going to be. There's some good games this week.
I said Seattle -4.
I said 6.5.
Open 6 has dropped to 5.5.
Man, you've been a little higher on the Wagon than I have. That was a great win last week. I'm not sure they're going to be able to score against Seattle. They're going to put Sherman on Mike Evans, which is a terrible matchup for Mike Evans. I like guys like Jamison Crowder against Sherman. Use that quickness, get in and out of cuts. Danny Julian Edelman, stuff like that. Mike Evans is not a good matchup. I think they're going to get to Winston a lot in this game, so I lean chicken.
Is Bennett back?
I do not know. Last I saw, it was still 2 to 3 weeks, but that was 2 weeks ago.
How come Bobby Wagner doesn't get the credit as one of the better linebackers in the league?
Good question. I'm assuming because he plays with Earl Thomas and Richard.
Yeah,
Sherman.
he's got great pieces around him, but I was impressed as hell with him last week.
He can run sideline to sideline. He can cover. He's strong. He stops the run. Besides Luke Kuechly, I'm not sure there is a better one.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I'm with you. I do think they get to Winston. I would have liked the wagon a lot more if they just didn't go to Arrowhead and win.
Yeah, this line to me is too low. I think it should be 7.5, something like that. The one thing going in the Lions' favor, CJ Prosise, the promising rookie, broke his shoulder and he is probably out for the year, so that's low. But it looks like Thomas Rawls survived another injury scare and will play this week.
Seattle seems to have one of those games every year where they go east, or they already went to New Orleans and lost, so they've gotten that out of the way already. And I don't think there's anybody playing better in the league than them right now.
No, and I don't. They're kind of in a number one seed battle with Dallas still, so they have something to play for. Tampa's home field advantage is non-existent. Maybe this is a sucker trap bet, but I'm not sure why this is under a touchdown, so I like it.
I'll check it and we'll monitor it as it goes on. Carolina at Oakland. I said Oakland -5.
I said Oakland -2.
I get this one. It opened 4.5. Has dropped to 3.5.
Oakland wasn't that impressive to me last night. I know they're 8-2. I don't know if they're 8-2 type of good. Amari Cooper's dealing with a back injury. I think that really hurts them. I'm not impressed with their running game. They have some talent back there, but it just never seems to pop. And defensively, their secondary is atrocious. You can exploit their secondary all you want. I have what's leading Carolina here.
I'm with you. I like Carolina here.
I know Luke Kuechly is probably out, so that hurts big time. He's basically their entire defense. But that line, to me, screams Carolina.
I think Carolina will pound it, and I think you could pound it on Oakland.
I agree.
New England at the Jets. I said New England -10.5.
I gave them the square 10.
You get this to clinch the week. It opened 7.5. It's up to 8.
Coming crazy. I'm kind of like the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting, who, they throw some picks, but he can generate a lot more offense than Bryce Petty can. I'm just super unimpressed with New England's defense. I don't think Colin Kaepernick will go okay last week. That game was 13-10 in the fourth quarter. I don't know. I think the Jets are going to hang around in this one.
They do seem to play New England tough every year at home. It does seem like a sucker bet to take New England.
Maybe this is the Browns of last week's game with the Steelers, but, like you said, they play tough, and I think they can score. I honestly think they're going to put up 20-plus points.
Kind of a tough spot for them as well. They play Seattle on Sunday night, physical, then go to California and come back home.
Yeah.
To go to the Jets. I kind of lean with you. Sunday night, good one again. Kansas City at Denver. I said Denver 3.5.
I said Denver 5.
I got this. It opened 3.5. It is now 3.
I'm not sure where to go with this one. Kansas City seems to play Denver well because they don't really do anything well on offense. They just kind of like to muck it up, mud it around, low-scoring games. I want to lean Denver, but some's telling me not to.
Last week, was your Andy Reid special that you get once, sometimes twice a year. That letdown spot, they go to Carolina and win, and you think they get a layup with Tampa at home. From what I read, I didn't see the highlights. Andy got cute in the red zone. I like
They
Kansas
should
City.
run the ball more
Yeah, that's
than
what I've
they
read.
did last week. Alex Smith actually had an okay game. Now, they were without Jeremy Maclin, so that contributes somewhat to it. I would assume he's back this week.
Based on this line, I would think he is.
Yeah. I don't know here. I don't really have a pick for this one.
If he's in, I lean Kansas City.
You know Andy better than I do, so I would go with you if you felt it.
I think there'll be better matchups for us on the board, though. And then Monday night in Philly, Green Bay comes to town. I said Philly -1.
I said 2.5.
You got it. It opened 3, has moved to 3.5. You get the week and take a season lead of 5-4-1.
I just based that line off of the same. Basically, they came to Washington. It was a similar line. I figured it would be similar to Philadelphia. I kind of like the Eagles in this spot. A lot of controversy in Green Bay. What's wrong with them? Aaron Rodgers looked good, but their defense is decimated. I think the Eagles will be able to score 25 or more. And I actually think the Eagles' front four is going to be in Rodgers' face the whole game.
Any worry of almost similar to last week, getting too much pressure and Rodgers escaping and making a play?
He will make a couple plays for sure. I don't think the Eagles' secondary is as bad as it has been in years past. Malcolm Jenkins, I think, could be that guy that contains Rodgers a little bit.
Yeah, I'm leaning Eagles as well.
Wow, it's hard to get you on the Eagles.
I think they're going to be one of these teams where you play them this week, fade them next week, play them the next week.
I think this is a good spot for them.
Yeah. They have the opportunity to get themselves right back in it with Green Bay this week and then go to Cincinnati next week without A.J. Green and probably Gio Bernard.
I know that you used to have these stats handy, and it might be something to look up, but I would like to see a current, up-to-date record of teams that play Seattle, what they do the next week.
I will have that for us for next week.
I know we have had success with that in the past.
That's a good point, and now that may have scared me off Philly.
It has to be under consideration, just the way Seattle plays takes a toll on you.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll be curious to see what that is updated from this year.
No official NFL picks yet. We'll tweet them out later in the week. Unless you are on Minnesota, Dallas, or Pittsburgh right now. That's the Thursday games.
Pittsburgh, I think we can tweet it out tomorrow if we want, but Pittsburgh would be the one I'd want to take a look at.
Okay. Texas, Penn State, and what was our third? Washington State, yes. Those are our 3 official in college. We'll tweet out the rest. Fantastic job by you today.
Tip of the cap to the host. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. The slate of games on Thursday looks fantastic, so enjoy.
Absolutely. Great weekend ahead of us. Your beer choice for the weekend?
Good question. My local brewery, Flying Dog, has released 5 or 6 brand new seasonal stuff. I have a winter canine ale. They have an eggnog ale, which I'm interested to try, and then I will pick up some Mad Elf just for tradition's sake.
You have to.
Is that what you're going with as well? The old Elf?
I'm going to pick up some Elf. I'm not sure what else. I haven't been to the beer store in about a week, so I'm not sure what winters are out yet around here.
As always, though, you got to pick up a case of Yingling Pounders just in case the rest of the game goes south. You need something to just hit you good.
There's always Svedka and Tito's in the basement.
Good point. That is a great point.
And a quick shout out to Coach Miller and the Lady Spiders. I didn't even realize that they've started. Good luck this year to them.
They played UVA very tough. Looks like they're trying to find a lineup that works, but their roster looks promising. All that recruiting that coach does looks to be paying off.
Great job by you today. Happy Thanksgiving, all. We'll talk soon.
See you, buddy.
See ya.